Namaste, Jai Bharat. The Idea of Pakistan is a book written by KK Aziz, and I think it was published from Lahore. Though KK Aziz, I don't think he lived in Pakistan after the book became popular, went back to London possibly, because he has expressed somewhat fair, neutral thoughts in his books. He's a historian. Aziz is a historian, so tried to maintain fair amount of objectivity in understanding how Pakistan began and how Pakistan came into existence. That is the book. Actually, he is focusing on how the very idea that there should be a Pakistan evolved, and he really goes to the history and finds out from where, which corner, which Muslim thinker spoke what. All those things are there. It's a good book, and to my perspective, he is not taking any side. He is trying his best to be objective in spite of the Islamic factor which functions as an umbrella above his head. Why I suddenly thought about KK Aziz and his book, The Idea of Pakistan, is because these days I just simply casually browsing through the YouTubers, I come across many people speaking. You see, most of the Pakistani YouTubers, what I see is that they carry the mic and camera to the people. No matter in which place they stand, they go and find a convenient spot and ask them about questions. And the most funny and also interesting thing is that the person standing in front has answers to everything. And then someone in the he'll keep telling him, "Mujhe bolne do, meri baat suno." Now they keep telling all these things. So if you ask a question, whether he has ever heard of such things or not, he is prepared to give an answer. What must be the psychology behind it? Maybe to show his face, or maybe to let his voice go on the air, etc. Maybe whatever. But then at times the answers are okay, and many times the answers are utterly rubbish and very repugnant. Many times. So I've heard some people at some place saying that the Muslims were forced to leave Bharat and make a separate nation. I heard some people telling, but this is far from any kind of truth or reality. No, they say they lies, and they speak on speculations. They speak on speculations mostly, and which has nothing to do with any kind of reality. And they speak on fantasy, also saying that we are the best. So they have these fantasies, they have these speculations, and whatever is smooth on imagination, they continue contemplating and continue speaking. Okay, these are the things that happens there. So they said that the Muslims were compelled, either explicitly or implicitly, whatever, but compelled to leave Bharat to make their own nation. But this is absolutely false. At no point the Hindus asked anyone that we want you to be out. At no point of our history, now at no point in Bharati history, the Hindus asked any non-Hindu to quit our land or go back. And at every point, the Hindus welcomed others to this, not only to the society, to practice their religion, and they did not take serious offense when they went around converting people in a peaceful manner then. But Islam had converted by force, that's there. But others, they deceived you too. They brought some kind of deceptions to convert people, except, of course, that is done by the Christians. But the Jews who came to Bharat, of course, they don't want anyone to be converted. They never tried, or they won't do. They don't want to increase the population that way. And of course, the Parsis and many others, the Iranian Zoroastrian people, Zarathustra's religion, the Zoroastrians, they never converted anyone. And of course, the Jews, of course, don't, and they never converted people into Judaism in Bharat. They had their own patterns of worship. They had their Torah, they had the synagogues, and they read the Torah, they prayed there, they constructed synagogues which are still there in Bharat, many of them. And it's about 2 kilometers from where I live. There's a Jewish cemetery. There are not Jews today in this place, but the Jewish cemetery is there, and some relatives of those who are buried there, from Israel mostly, they visit from time to time this place, and they get easy. Of course, Jews get easy visa to Bharat in any case. So this had been our situation. So we never told anyone to go away from our nation by virtue of his faith system, by virtue of his beliefs, and by virtue of his say religion. And then they say this: it's the Muslims who found it impossible to coexist with any non-Muslims, not just with the Hindus. For them, the Hindus, the Sikhs, the Buddhists, Jains, all the same. For them, all these people fall into one category of non-Muslims, and then subsequently they maintain further differences between the kind of or the version of Islam what they are and the other kinds of versions which they are not, and that goes on. So it's they who wanted to go and create a nation, and the whole history with a typical Pakistani perspective, in spite of the fact that the book is written in Pakistani perspective, it still is close to reality. There are much less exaggerations. When you are trying to be objective reading that book, you can read in between lines and understand reality. So this KK Aziz was never fanatically writing. He maintained his dignity as a historian within his permissible frameworks of Islamism. He tried his best to maintain his dignity of objectivity with history. That's because he was a genuine historian, in spite of the fact that he was under the coercion of Islamic circumstances in Pakistan. So you read that book. It must be available in Lahore even today, because I got the book from Lahore. So it must be available in Lahore or places somewhere. The Idea of Pakistan, it's reasonably good book, big book, size book. I forgot how many pages it has, with extensive references. It's a very good book with very genuine references and very genuine quotations. He had done a good work, but which speaks how the very concept of Pakistan evolved, from which point it traces us back to the Urdu agitation, the Hindi-Urdu conflict of the same language, except the difference of writing it in which script. So beautifully done. So those people in Pakistan who keep blaming the Hindus for everything, please read that one book written by one of your senior person who was very sensible, who was not a fool, who was sensible, and who was very Pakistani. Otherwise, he was very Pakistani. But just because one is very Pakistani, it doesn't mean that he is anti-India. He of course doesn't support Bharat. He has nothing much to do with Bharat because he is a Pakistani and a Muslim. But he tried to be objective. You read his book. Don't read our books. Don't read my book, for instance, on separatism, etc. You read his book and then try to understand. It's written in English. If you read good, then try to understand who is responsible for all the miseries today. What you face. You face a lot of miseries today, from not having respect when you go outside, and you don't have respect to yourself, nor self-respect, and there is no authenticity of existing, because people for the sake of money will do anything. I'm talking in general. For getting some money, you can do anything. That's a general statement. There are exceptions. Of course, there will be exceptions, obviously, all over the place, this way and that way. But in general, This is a picture of Pakistan, that you do anything for sake of money. Uh, Whatever you can think about it. So these are all the miseries what you face today. No one bothers about you. No one cares for you. No one gives you any respect. And your people, still those who go little bit to school, want to compare yourselves with Bharat and struggle and suffer in that. So all these things are caused by how many people who are responsible for this. That's the creation of the notion, the idea, or the concept of Pakistan is very vividly and very nicely and very authentically presented by this person, KK Aziz. And read that book, Idea of Pakistan, then speak about yourselves, and then you will understand why you had become so. I will add to it what Aziz could not add. Your kind of, or your version of Islam is what really causes you problem. I'm telling your version of Islam. And your version of Islam is what is taught in your schools. And your version of Islam is people taught in the madrasas, in your version, come out and function and work and spoil your society. Take you back in time, continues to take you back in time. You don't become an architect of Islam through your version of Islam. Architect of Islam, there are very good people all over Arabia. And in many other places, they have this problem. They don't have this problem. You have this problem. That's because the way you understand the religion, the way your version of Islam, which is fundamentally based on Iqbal's. I used to like Iqbal because he's also a philosopher. Iqbal in version of Islam. So please read, understand, then blame others. You have to see how you have to blame your own selves and learn to blame yourselves, and to what extent you can blame yourselves, your ancestors, and then speak. We shall meet again. Namaste, Jai Bharat, and Jai Shri Ram.